Sex offenders, buried versus planted on today's Modern Day Leper with Ahmad Blakemore. Hello, how are you? And welcome back to another edition of Modern Day Leper with Ahmad Blakemore. I'd like to say hello to all of our leper fans, our lady lepers, and our entire leper nation all across the U.S. and around the world. How's everybody doing? I hope you all had a great week, getting things accomplished, feeling good, feeling motivated. I've been pretty busy myself, trying to get some things done. I've got a lot of things that I'm working on, and I'm very happy about the growth that we've had. And I want to say thank you for that. Today, we're talking about sex offenders, buried versus planted. Buried versus planted. In this topic of buried versus planted, there's a lot of us who feel like our lives have been buried because we have sex offender status, because we can't find jobs, because we're going through hard times. And I want to uplift us and let us know the difference between being buried and being planted. First of all, buried, covered with earth, to place in the ground and cover over for containment, to cover up, to hide. When we want to cover and hide that which is dead, we put it beneath the ground so that it is out of the way. Death is a form of permanent disposal, and burying the dead is our way of permanently disposing of bodies. When they're buried, we permanently dispose of them. By burying them, we hide them, we conceal them. This is how we get rid of our dead, by burying it. Planted, place a seed, a bulb, or plant in the ground so that it can grow. To sow. To plant means to put something in the ground. So right away, we notice that these two, burying and planting, have something in common. What do they have in common? Digging, inserting, and covering all look the same. Digging, covering, and inserting looks the same. At some point in life, it seems like we're being buried when actually we've been planted. Sometimes it seems like we're being planted when actually we are being buried. We have to know the difference. And what is the thing that these have in common? They happen in the dark. When you bury something, it is covered over with dirt, in a hole, in the dark. When you plant something, you dig a hole, you drop it in, and you cover it over in the dark. Both of these are concealed. No one sees what's happening. It's hidden from the public. No one sees the dead body in the ground that was buried. No one sees the seed, the tree, the flowers that was planted because it's covered over. It can't be seen by the public. They both happen in the ground. And so when we think about this, we see that both of these have a lot in common, but they also have a difference. And the difference is the most important. It is most important to know the difference between burying and planting. One is just starting, the other is at a permanent end. That is the difference between planting and burying. One is just starting, the other is at a permanent end. And when I think about this, of course, we know what automatically comes to mind in this particular story and message is the parable of the talents. And the parable of the talents is a most important parable. It is so easy. We all have heard it several times, but it's so important because we miss key elements of the parable of the talents. And this is why Jesus taught it, these simple messages or parables, which have such heavy messages inserted into them. And I will, because I'm sure most of us know the parable of the talents, I will move around it pretty swiftly. But he's telling his disciples that the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who have servants and delivered unto them goods. And unto them he gave 5 talents, another 2 talents, and one he gave 1 talent. And to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Now, the important thing here is our own ability. Our ability. We often wonder why someone has more than we have. Why does this guy have 5? Why does this guy have 2? Why does this guy have 1? But if you notice in the story, the person that had the 1 talent seemed to be the one who did the less amount of work. But moving around this particular story, we find that the reason he did not use that particular talent, it was for 2 reasons. Number 1, fear of loss. We, as registered people, are talented. God has given us specific things, specific ideas, specific goals, and he expects us to perform those goals, those duties. If it's just one, this particular servant decided that he was going to bury it, to protect it, so that when the master came back, he would be able to return it to him, having not taken a loss. And he's the guy I want to focus on today, because we know how well the others did. But this particular servant with the one talent buried it. And there is a specific word that tells the difference between burying and planting. And that specific word is expectation. Expectation. A strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future is expectation. Remember, the difference between burying and planting is expectation. One of them is starting and one of them is at the end. When you bury something, you have no expectation. But when you plant something, you have all the expectation in the world. God has given all of us talent. God has given all of us missions, and He expects us to perform those duties, to do those jobs. We can't say, Master, the reason I didn't perform my duties is because I was afraid. I was afraid to lose your money. Unacceptable. Just like we can't say, Lord, the reason I didn't start the channel was because people on the internet would say bad things about me. People on the internet are going to remix my videos and say terrible things about me, so therefore I can't do it. Will that be acceptable? It will not be acceptable. Sex offender status is not a reason to not perform your duties as God have had you do them. If God have given you a specific ability, He expects you to perform those duties to the best of your ability. I wanted to start the channel, but I was afraid. I wanted to start the channel, but they were going to say things about me. They were calling me names. I was going to go out and talk to people, but my neighbors scared me. My neighbors say bad things about me, so therefore I can't do what you asked me to do. So I'm going to bury my talent in this hole because I'm afraid of people. I don't have as much money as the guy with the 5 talents, so I'm just going to hang out at the house. My car is not as nice as his car. They've got a bigger van than we've got. We've got this small little thing that don't run very good, so I can't go out and do what God told me to do. Nobody's supporting me, so I can't go out and do what I was supposed to do. None of this is acceptable. As registered people, we still have to perform our duties. And as registered people, there is no excuse that says because we're registered people, we get away with performing our duties at a lower classification or a lower standard. We can't make these excuses and say we can't do what God told us to do. We can't start a business. We can't do our jobs. We can't raise our children. We can't love our wives and have good relationships. None of that is an excuse. And in no place does God say, oh, you're a sex offender. You got registration status. So, hey, listen, I'm going to cut you a break. No, you're not going to be cut a break. We still have things to do. We still are a vital part of society. God still expects us to operate at a high standard. Of course, it's hard on us. Of course, things are difficult. Of course, there are challenges. But you don't have to be a registered person to have challenges. Everyone has challenges. I understand. I understand how it feels when people hope you're going to fail, when people pray for your downfall and call you all sorts of names. And for all the good that you've done, they can only talk about the bad stuff. When the good that you've done outweighs all of the bad, they will still push all that good stuff to the side just to find something bad. Oh, there's that little bad thing down there at the bottom. Let's go around all this good stuff that he's doing and talk about that one bad thing again and again and again and again. So God, that's all they did was put me down and kept talking about the bad stuff. So I dropped my talent in a hole. I decided that I wasn't going to make videos anymore. I wasn't going to talk to anybody anymore. I wasn't going to be that voice anymore that you gave me. I wasn't going to use that bulldog tenacity that you gave me. I wasn't going to use that boldness anymore that you gave me. I wasn't going to use that diction that you gave me. I wasn't going to use this oratory that you gave me. I'm not going to use it anymore because I'm afraid. Because people keep talking about me and they keep saying bad things about me. I'm not going to get my blessings anymore. I know that my talent will make room for me. I know that there's an opportunity for me to do very well, to live a really good life. I know there's opportunity for me to bless other people, touch other lives, to become a serious motivational speaker and minister in this genre that people need, that marginalized people are talked about on a daily basis and put down and need my voice, but I'm not going to use it because I'm afraid. Because people keep saying things I don't want to hear. They keep bringing up my past. So I just put my stuff in a hole and covered it over. I killed it. And I didn't have any more expectations anymore. I know you expected me to do this, but I'm not going to do it. Because people tell me what to do. Because people run me. Because I care more about what people think than what you tell me to do. They have more control than you do, and I'm afraid of them. I'm not afraid of you. So all of those people that I should be helping, I'm not going to help anymore. Really? How many think that that is going to be acceptable? It's not going to be acceptable. You have a work to do. You have a voice, a talent, something that you do well to support you and your family, you and your children. You have the ability to touch other people, whatever it happens to be. It may not be what I do, but I don't do what you do. And it takes all of us to stay on our square, to get prayed up, to stay motivated, to write our goals down, to meet other people and network with people that are positive and will give us a positive word. Do whatever it takes. But for God's sake, do not bury your mission. Do not bury your talent. Do not bury what God has given you. Don't bury the love for your children. Don't bury your relationship. Don't bury your job because it's not as good as somebody else's. Don't bury your communications and your small Bible studies because they're not as big as somebody else's. Don't bury your life because somebody is trying to put you in a marginalized position. Your life is just as good as someone else's. You are just as important to God as anyone else. Don't bury your life. Regardless of what people are saying, don't bury your marriage. Don't bury your family. Don't bury your hope. We are needed. Continue to grow. Continue. When things are happening in the dark and your life is dark, don't think that you've been buried. Remember, you have been planted. Give it a little more time. Stay motivated. Water your life, your love, your family, your situation. Nurture it. And let God grow it. That you might do what it is that God has for you, that He might say, "Well done, my faithful servant." These people in society are not the final word. God is. My name is Ahmad Blakemore. I am the modern day leper, and I will see you on the next one. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.